Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to be back with you once again to talk about the outdoors, the history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle right here in the great state of Michigan. We talk about hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and wildlife issues and conservation issues and even some wild game cooking. We talk about the outdoors. I talk about the outdoors with guests. I don't sit here and talk 3 hours by myself. We talk about it because it's a big part of who we are. And by we, what is we? Well, we could be who we as Michiganders. You know, this is a big outdoor state. I say we in my family. We, it's a family tradition for us. I never knew my great-granddad, but I knew my grandpa, and he hunted and fished. Obviously, I knew my dad, and he hunted and fished, and he's the guy who taught me how to hunt and fish. I love to hunt and fish. My son, James, loves to hunt and fish, and he's better at it than I am. And my grandkids now love to hunt and fish. So it is part of our family tradition, and it's part of our Michigan tradition, and that's why I'm able to sit here every week for 3 hours and talk about it. Can you believe that next weekend is Memorial Weekend already? I know, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Where does the time go? It seems like it was just March 1st, and now it's Memorial Weekend coming up already. Do you have plans? If not, it might not be too late to make those plans. I would encourage you, as you look at this summertime season, to take time to make these trips, to make these memories. I don't know where you are. It doesn't matter where you are in your life, whether you're a young family just starting out, whether you're, middle-aged, whether you're an old person with grandkids, but this is how memories are made. It's those hunting and fishing and camping trips and those trips up north. That's what the kids are going to remember. That's what the memories are made from. They're not going to remember the fact that you spent an extra day at work or that you went into the office or into the shop on a Saturday. The kids aren't going to remember that. I know that families these days are incredibly busy, like never before. I know that you've got the kids or the grandkids involved in so many different activities, gymnastics or softball or soccer or lacrosse. And the folks who organize these sports these days really don't care about your family, free time, spare time. I mean, they're scheduling events on Mother's Day. They're scheduling events on weekends. They schedule events on Sundays. They don't care that it interferes with you going to church. They don't care. But here's a news flash for you. Your kid or grandkid is probably not going to play professional ball. Probably not going to happen. And the odds of them actually playing at a D1 school are pretty slim too. So if you think you're putting all these resources into this, that your kid's going to play professional baseball, and you're doing this at the expense of having this quality time at the lake or going up north or just having a weekend where you're not on the road running all over the state or the Midwest, slow down. Take a breath. Make those memories. And I know it's hard. I know you've got a lot going on, but take time this summer to make the memories. Well, pike and walleye season now open in the Yup, in Dupuie. I hope you're getting a chance to take advantage of that. Late turkey season is in full swing. It runs through the end of the month. And I've still got a lot of people sending me pictures of their late season birds. I love to see them. Send them to me, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Please don't send them to me in a social media message. If you want me to share them, and I want to share them, send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. If you have a young person involved in those pictures, hunting or fishing or, just outside, outside in the outdoors, use the hashtag #ForwardFuelsTradition. #ForwardFuelsTradition. And every month, the people from Forward will pick a winner from those pictures, and you'll get a $50 gift certificate to the Forward Corporation, to their convenience stores, to the gas stations. How cool is that? What else? My boat is almost done. In fact, by the time you hear this show, it might be done. I got new tubes put on the Angler Quest. I'm so excited to get out there on the water. And then let the fishing begin. Oh, going back to turkeys. My turkey season is done, but I did get a chance to play golf the other day. I was out on the golf course. I love golf. I love golf. I'm not very good at it, but I love it. Out on the golf course the other day in the middle of the afternoon, and a bird fires up and started gobbling. And he gobbled and gobbled and gobbled. I never saw him, but he was close. And I was fishing, golfing with my family, and I said, there's a bird right there that if we weren't on a golf course, somebody could take him. If you get a bird that gobbles in the middle of the afternoon, that's a bird that you should be looking for if you're out hunting. Bear and elk applications here in the great state of Michigan, you have till the end of the month. Don't forget about them. I mean, that's one of those things that you can say, yeah, I've got time. And then June 1st, June 2nd rolls around, you go, oh, I never did apply. If you're of a mindset that you can't hunt, or if your schedule, or, like me last year, my daughter was getting married at the end of the summer. I knew I wasn't going to be elk or bear hunting. So I just applied for the point. That is an option. If you apply for the point, it keeps you in the system. You keep accruing those points to increase your odds of getting a tag, but you're not actually saying, I want a tag for this year. So don't forget about that option. What else? Oh, TikTok. You're saying, why is Avery talking about TikTok? I get it, right? In my job, one of my goals is to reach as many people as possible, whether it's the radio show, podcast, or social media. And I do use social media a lot. In some ways, I really like social media because, I can go live. You can go live. That's the thing about social media. You can pull your phone out and you can go live and reach an audience easily. Back when I was working in television news, if I wanted to go live, it involved about a dozen people and a live truck to do it. It was a big deal to go live. These days, I'm sitting here right now in the studio going live on my phone. But I try to take advantage of as many outlets as possible to reach as many people as possible, to promote the outdoors to as many people as possible. So I've been playing around on TikTok only because there's such a huge audience there. And at first I said, TikTok, no, I don't want any part of it, because what I knew about TikTok was people dancing to videos, and it was just stupid. And I got poking around TikTok, and there's a lot of outdoor-related content there as well. So I've been experimenting. So far, 2 of my videos have been banned. One of them was a dad and his daughter sitting in a turkey blind when a bear walked in front of them. I told you that. I told you about that one last week. I have no idea why that would be banned. The second one, just a couple of days ago now, was my grandson Carter on the trap shooting range shooting trap. TikTok banned that one. They said it violated their community standards because it showed unsafe gun handling practices. Well, for one thing, I'm quite convinced the people behind TikTok have no idea what safe gun handling practices are, and they've proven that to me, because I watched that video again, and there's absolutely nothing in there that is unsafe at all. It promotes the safe use of firearms by a kid. That's why I posted it. TikTok decided they didn't want to see it. I'm thinking TikTok might not be a friend of hunters or shooting. Now, there are a lot of fishing videos there, and I will use TikTok to the full extent that I can to promote those fishing videos this summer. So who's coming up on the show this week? Jason Horton after the break. He's with the Michigan Bowfishing Association, talking about that sport. I find it fascinating. It's kind of a cross between hunting and bow hunting and fishing. Then Mr. Angler Quest Brad Dupuie brings us up to date on the status of his new company, Angler Quest Quest. In our second hour, he's scheduled. I think he'll probably show up. His name is Fred Bugent. No. It's Ted Nugent. That's who it is, Ted Nugent. Haven't talked to Uncle Ted for a while. Also, Chad Fedewa from the DNR on why you should never, ever, 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 ever pick up a fawn. Ever. Then this week's Ask Avery question. In the third hour, Sir Lancelot. Lance Valentine. Somebody told me Lance was talking about fishing with crawlers. I didn't believe it. We're going to find out. And then we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. That's all coming up this week here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. My name is Mike Avery. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. I appreciate you being along with us this week. Lots coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Alpena on WZTK 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC 1450 AM 99.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Matt Smith Outdoors Realtor. Matt is a longtime friend of mine. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. He's an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes and retirement homes. And he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. Learn more online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. That's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're waiting for the right time, the perfect time, right? The perfect time to get that piece of land up north or to get that place on the water, if you're waiting for everything to fall in place, it's probably not going to happen. This is what Matt tells me. So you take advantage of what you can, and you make it happen. I talked earlier about making those memories, right? Well, Matt shares those same thoughts. By the way, if you're looking for your a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there as well. That's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram, Matt Smith Outdoors. There are so many different types of things we can do here in Michigan to enjoy the outdoors. Hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping and boating and biking and camping and hiking and all that good stuff. Have you ever been bow fishing? I used to call it carp shooting, but it's much more than carp. I find it to be fascinating because it's kind of a cross between bow hunting and fishing. Jason Horton is with the Michigan Bowfishing Association, their website, bowfishbam.com, to talk more about that. Jason, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
I am real good, real good. I'm excited about kicking this summertime season off, and I bet you guys are as well.
Absolutely. We actually kicked it off about a month ago now, and we are full force right now with our tournaments.
Boy, a month ago, that must did you hit one of the nice warm days, or was it pretty chilly out there?
It's funny you say that because I actually gave a few people a hard time because one of the dates that we actually had was August 6th was our first tournament. And I said, who in their right mind wants to bowfish on August 6th? It's going to be freezing out. It was actually probably one of the best tournaments we've had this year so far.
August 6th?
April 6th.
I'm like...
Not August, my bad.
So what was it like? I got distracted there. Was it a good day or a bad day?
It was a great day. It was on the Detroit River Lake Erie tournament, and wow, we shot a lot of big carp.
Lake Erie, I understand, but the Detroit River, I mean, that's a deep, fast river. Where are you folks shooting there in the river?
Up in the little pockets and ponds that I'm not a huge fan of the Detroit River, to be honest with you. I'm more of a Lake Erie person.
Yeah.
But there are some that like the little pockets that that Detroit River produces.
Well, there's a lot of fish down there and a lot of big fish.
Yes.
So tell me more about your rig. How is this set up? When I say bow fishing or carp shooting, the old term, what are you guys doing? How are you doing it?
So for BAM, Bowfishing Association Michigan, all of our tournaments are at night. So our rigs are set up with, most of them have LED lights around them, and we're fishing, our tournaments are normally 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So we're fishing all night long with a light setup so that it illuminates the water so that we can fish at night. That's how most of us do it. There are a lot of people that'll go out during the day, and you don't need the lights, and that's great as well. In my opinion, it's a little harder to find fish. You know, you have to have your polarized sunglass stuff, but almost every rig is set up with lights around it, and yeah, that's a lot of people troll. There's a lot of airboats out there now. Airboats are becoming hugely popular.
Yeah, these rigs you talk about, I mean, you could put as much money into a bow fishing rig as somebody could on a Great Lakes trolling rig.
Yeah, don't tell my wife.
I didn't mean you, Jason.
So we actually have with our tournaments, it's starting to become one of those things where out of, say, 20 boats, there might be 6, 8, 10 people that are running airboats now. And those things, you know, anywhere $25,000 to $60,000.
What's the advantage of an airboat for bow fishing?
Well, the nice thing about an airboat is you don't have a trolling motor sticking down in the water. Most of these airboats will run, quote unquote, what they say dry. So you get a little pocket of muck or something like that, and you can get up into these little pockets. Saginaw Bay is one of them that, you know, you got your islands and stuff that there's just a lot of these little pockets, and these carp will hide in these little pockets, and you can actually, a troller motor is never going to get through that, where it's just solid muck, and you can kind of get right into these little pockets and stuff like that.
So you've got a bow in your hands, recurve, compound, what?
Both, actually. There are a lot of people that like the old recurves. There's a lot of people that like the old Oneida bows. They've become hugely popular, and those Oneida bows, there's been actually like 3 or 4 other companies that now have copied that design of that old lever bow, and that is hugely popular. And then you can never go wrong with just a nice wheel bow either. Compound.
And the reason for the Oneidas and the recurves is you don't have to come to full draw, right? Is that the thinking there?
Yeah, a lot of snap shooting goes on when it comes to that. You get some people that'll say that those Oneidas and your recurves will draw a little bit more kinetic energy when you're shooting. You'll get these compound guys that will argue that. I don't know which way is better, one way or the other. I do shoot an Oneida. I really like it. My bow is set at 17 pounds. When you're shooting that many times at night, you don't want to be pulling back 50 pounds.
Well, yeah. When you were talking about kinetic energy, I'm thinking this isn't whitetail hunting. I mean, I would think you don't want a lot of energy because you don't want to be shooting through fish or missing fish and then shooting into the bottom.
Oh, exactly. That's the last thing you want. And there's a lot of times that you're pulling your arrow out of the bottom of the lake more than you are actually shooting fish.
So what's the arrow look like? What's on the end of it, for one thing?
It's just like a barb system. A lot of them have it almost reminds you of like a paper clip, for example, just a couple little barbs that stick out. And then what you do is you just unscrew the tip of your arrow after you have shot through the fish, and then it literally flips those barbs, and you pull your arrow back out, you flip those barbs back over and screw your tip back in.
And you've got a retrieval line, some kind of a cord or a line between the bow and the arrow, right?
Correct. A good one is AMS. They've been around for years. They developed what's called a bottle reel, so it reminds you of a pop bottle, for example, that has a whole bunch of line in it, and then once the arrow shoots, it's got a line attached to the back side of it, and all that line comes out of it, not all of it, but the line comes out of that quote-unquote pop bottle-looking bottle, and then it reminds you of a fishing reel. You squeeze a handle that pinches a couple wheels together, you just start reeling it in, and it reels that line back up and puts that line back into the bottle.
You get a big carp or something pretty good size on the end of that line. Without the flex of a fishing rod, you got a fight on your hands.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's easier, especially with the bottle reels, for example, it's easier to set the bow down and try to hand pull it in sometimes. A lot of these companies like Muzzy, for example, have an actual fishing reel. So there's a drag. That helps a lot. A lot of guys have gone to that as well. So the drag system helps a lot. And it's one of those things, you get a big carp and you're better off letting it pull you out, because you don't want, last thing you want is to snap your line off and lose that arrow.
Sure. So we mentioned carp, but they're not I think they're the most popular target, but they're not the only species, right?
No, I mean, there's lots of other things like dogfish or bowfin, suckers, drum. There's a handful of fish. Saginaw Bay, for example, has goldfish that I don't know how they got there, but that's been an elusive thing for some of these out-of-staters. Last year, we hosted the Bowfishing Association of America's World Tournament, and that was a big talk that we can go up to Michigan and shoot these little goldfish. And so that was a big buzz around the U.S. for a little bit, that you can go to Michigan for this tournament and shoot goldfish. So
yeah, but once they spend some time out there in the bay, they're not those little goldfish anymore, are they?
No, they are not. You can get a couple pounders.
So,
which don't sound like much, but they are.
No. That's big. Obviously, there's no shoot and release in bow fishing, so you got to be careful. You got to know what it is that you're letting an arrow fly on, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. So we've done, for the Bowfishing Association of Michigan, our ultimate goal, we are a 501c3, our ultimate goal is to educate people. So we do concentrate on educating people on what fish are considered rough fish, so that we are not shooting at any game fish.
Well, it's experience and it's education, and I guess if in doubt, just don't shoot.
Correct. Yep. Just when in doubt, do not release an arrow.
Or Jason, am I looking at this wrong? Is it pretty obvious when you've got a fish there and it's all lit up? Is it pretty obvious what it is?
For the most part, like you said, once you start to get out there and get that experience, most everybody has regular fish once they start to bow fish. So to go trolling up on a bass, it's pretty obvious when you look down and oh, that's a nice bass right there. So for the most part, a lot of these bow fishermen are experienced with regular fishing, so they know what a bass looks like and a crappie looks like and a walleye looks like. So for the most part, it's pretty obvious.
Got to be very cool sneaking up in that shallow water after dark with lights. The things that you see, kind of the fish, the size, the things that you don't see during the daytime. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the coolest experiences I've experienced a couple different times is when you troll up into some of that stuff and you look down and here's this big old black thing, and you look and you go, oh my goodness, that's a beaver. I've had that happen a couple times. It throws you off to see something of that size swimming under the water.
We're talking with Jason Horton of the Bowfishing Association of Michigan, their website, bowfishbam.com, about the sport of bow fishing. It used to be called carp shooting, but it's so much more than that. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I have some more questions for Jason. Also, I'll ask him for the schedule for the rest of the year and maybe how you can get started in bow fishing. And again, what's the attraction? You know, there's a lot of different things to do. Why go bow fishing? Well, I don't know. I've done it before, and it is an absolute riot. More with Jason Horton of the Bowfish Association of Michigan after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan, of course, available as a podcast as well. I always say, though, the best way to listen, if you can, is on your local radio station, including WBCK in Battle Creek. That's 95.3 FM. In Carroll, 2 stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by this sound. You know this sound? Rapid River Knives. That's the sound of my Rapid River knife opening. I just pulled it out of my pocket. That's a new knife. I went up to Jay's and I bought a new one. I like these things so much, I think I'm going to start collecting them. Handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula with a lifetime guarantee. If you go to the shop on US 2 just east of Rapid River, walk in and say, I want a new knife and I want to use the promo code Avery10, you can get 10% off. Or if you go to the website, rapidrivernifeworks.us, and order online, you can get 10% off as well. You can get it engraved. It's going to last you all your life, and you're going to be passing it down to the next generation. rapidrivernifeworks.us. We're talking now about bow fishing with Jason Horton of the Bowfishing Association of Michigan. Their website is bowfishbam.com. That's bowfishbam.com. Jason, the interest in your sport has really taken off, hasn't it?
It absolutely has.
And why do you think that is? I'll ask you again. What's the appeal?
Well, it's for the most part, it's fast action. You're always moving. The camaraderie with your teammates. It's unlike deer hunting. You're not just sitting there being quiet, or turkey hunting. You're not just sitting there being quiet. You're talking. A lot of times we have our radio going, and it's just you're having a good time. And I don't know very many people that don't love bow hunting, and it just kind of adds those two together. Of you add bow hunting with fishing and a bunch of good friends, and it just turns out to be a great time.
And you're going to let more arrows fly in one night of bow fishing than you are in seasons of bow hunting for deer.
Oh, way more. I mean, to give you a good idea, our last tournament, the winning team shot 1,238 fish. That's now, granted, they about doubled second place, so that's kind of a crazy amount. They're a really, really good team. But, I mean, that just tells you how many. We were goofing around kind of figuring they had to have put a fish for a 12-hour tournament, taking out some drive time and stuff. They would have had to put a fish in the boat roughly about every 30 seconds.
Holy cow. What body of water was that on?
That's shooting. Well, the one thing you will find with bow fishermen is they aren't going to tell you anything. I have a feeling they were probably on Saginaw Bay, but I cannot actually even confirm that because, unfortunately, it was not my team. But I want to say they were probably on Saginaw Bay. It was considered the East Side Big Water Tournament, so you could go anywhere from up by like Thunder Bay all the way down to into Lake Erie to the Ohio border. So there was a huge area that you could travel to. But I feel like they were probably on Saginaw Bay.
I got you. So where is the next event based out of?
So the next event is actually hosted out of the Fowlerville Fairgrounds, but it is called our whole state shoot. So you will arrive at Fowlerville Fairgrounds and register for the tournament, and then at 7 p.m. is our send-off, and you actually can, it's crazy, but you actually can go anywhere in the state that is a legal DNR launch site.
How many boats will you get in that one, do you think?
If the weather's nice, I expect we'll get 20, 25, 30 boats. Most of the time if the weather's nice, we're pushing 25, 30.
So, and I'm reluctant to ask this, but people always say, Avery, I hear you talking about bow fishing. What do they do with the fish? So, Jason, what do you do with these fish? I know they're trash fish, they're rough fish, but I don't want to see them. I want to see them get used somehow.
Yeah, so we have been really blessed the last handful of years. We have made wonderful contacts with different farmers, with we actually have a couple bird sanctuaries that rehabilitate like eagles. So we've been really lucky and able to find people that we can donate our fish to. We've had people that will, the eagle rehabilitation, we do have one gentleman, he'll show up and take the fish. For the most part, we will travel to them and we will donate the fish to them. So that way they're not going to waste at all. They're being used as fertilizer or food.
And and I'm glad to hear that. And the reason for taking these fish out of the population in the first place is to help the other fish. I mean, it's like everything else, right? It's a controlled harvest.
Absolutely. It's just like deer hunting. I mean, we're out there to control the harvest. Carp are supposed to be here. So our thing is we just want to keep them in check, just like if we're deer hunting. We have a great contact with the DNR and biologist Chris Kemp. And so we've actually had great contact with him the last couple of years on helping with grass carp, which are not supposed to be here. Right. So we have some amazing contacts with the DNR and just with different farmers and rehabilitation centers.
Well, Jason, I appreciate you bringing us up to speed. I will wish you luck and have a lot of fun during the rest of the season. And hopefully this next event, the winners coming across the stage is going to be you.
I hope so. Usually don't happen, but it's a good thought.
You'll have fun anyway. Jason Horton of the Bowfishing Association of Michigan, the website bowfishbam.com. That's a pretty cool website, bowfishbam.com. Mr. Angler Quest after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. And you can hear us north of the bridge, way north, in Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. This is the time right now to be putting in your food plots, and I think working with a Michigan-based family-owned company is a great idea. Go to the website killerfoodplots.com, that's killerfoodplots.com, to see what Rich Krazan and the rest of the crew have to offer as far as seed, as far as services. Don't forget, though, Rich always tells me this, the first thing you should do is get a soil sample. Go to the website killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com to learn more. Okay, you know that I am a big fan of Angler Quest boats. I've been working with that company since the first prototype came out and was on the water years and years ago. Brad Dupuie is the guy who's been behind this the whole time. I've dubbed him Mr. Angler Quest, and it's kind of stuck. Angler Quest is in a transition right now. It's moving from its former parent company of Apex Marine over to Brad's company, and he's got some exciting things in the works. I did a podcast with Brad last week to talk more about this, but I thought it would be an interesting radio topic as well, and Brad is with us on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Mr. Angler Quests, welcome back. How are you?
Hey, we're doing great, Mike. How are things for you?
Good, really good, because it's fishing season.
Yes, I'm excited. Starting to hear some really good reports, and boy, we're another week away. It's going to be full bore Saginaw Bay walleye time.
Have you had a chance to get out much, or have you been so busy on this project and getting things going, and it's taking up all your time?
Well, I have been busy. I'm going to be dropping the boat in the water Thursday, and from there, I've got trips I'm going to run and keep running and get to fishing, and I'm looking forward to that. And I've certainly been busy working on the new Angler Quest and getting that ball rolling for sure.
The new Angler Quest is Q-U-E-S-T, Angler Quest Q-U-E-S-T. But Brad, the question everybody's asking me is, hey, when are we going to see him? When is Brad going to unveil what's going on? So what's the timetable here, Brad?
Well, going to build a prototype. We're in the process of building a prototype right now. I would guess hopefully by the end of the month we'll have that prototype completed. We're still waiting on some machines and some different things for the aesthetics of the front wall radius and things of that nature, but the chassis and the basic bones of the boat are all going to be in place, and we've addressed a lot of things that need addressing, and I look forward to getting it on the water and running it.
So is it going to be a drastic new design, or is it basically from a distance going to look like Angler Quest?
Well, I think it'll look very similar to the original design. I really addressing some things like tube durability, binary wall system that has 6 9-foot rod storage per side, just a lot of things, pull tubes for dealers, just things that everybody's been asking for over the years, and I'm really looking forward to getting them in play and getting them out there and for people to experience them.
So, all right, so you're working on the prototype. That'll be done soon. You'll run that for a while as you tweak it and check it out and, just make sure everything's the way you want it. So, best guess on production models. Is it going to be later this year as 2025 models?
Yeah, they will absolutely be some 2025 models. That'll, begin roughly in the mid-September timeframe. We're really hoping to have some production intent boats built in August here. So realistically, we are targeting the mid-September range to have some production boats, 2025 models on the water.
What about the Angler Quest Owners Tournament that has been so popular the last couple of years out of Linwood Beach Marina? Any plans for that?
Yes, that is happening. It's going to be at Linwood Beach Marina, as we've all come to know, July 27th, Saturday morning. Very similar package prize-wise, and I haven't really published that as of yet because of just some technical things in the background here, but yes, that is a go. I look forward to it. I look forward to everybody enjoying the boats the way they enjoy them.
You make me nervous. You say, I haven't published it yet, and then Avery gets on the radio and talks about it with his big mouth.
Well,
if I blew that, I'm sorry.
No, you did not. That word is out, and there has been some minor publication on some Facebook pages and stuff like that, but I'm going to officially put that out here in the next week or so and get people to plan and register for it.
Excellent. That's going to be Saturday, July 27th at Linwood Beach Marina. And as of right now, Brad, you've been, it's too early for a new Angler Quest, QUEST website. So I think the best way, you and I are talking about this, is the best way to learn and to keep track of what's going on is either on your Facebook page or go to the Angler Quest Owners group on Facebook, right?
That's right. Those are a couple great areas, and I will be getting more and more information in the coming weeks here for sure.
All right, Brad, listen, congratulations. I'm really excited for you. I can't wait to see the new boat, and I can't wait to get my current Angler Quest out on the water, and that's going to happen here any day. So I appreciate it, and we'll talk again.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Brad Dupuie, Mr. Angler Quest. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, the Whackmaster, Uncle Ted, says he wants to check in and shoot the breeze for a while. So that means I can sit back, ask him a couple questions, put my feet up, and just enjoy the conversation. Then Chad Fedewa from the DNR on why you should never, ever, ever, ever pick up a fawn. Plus, this week's Ask Avery question in Hour 2 of Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to Hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. Right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I always say the best way to listen to this show, if you can, is on your local radio station. If you can't, if your local affiliate doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, isn't it nice to know that there's a podcast version of the show available? I put the podcast on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, on my Facebook page, and all of the different podcasting platforms. If there's some place you can hear a podcast, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. I also do podcasts for some of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle, Primal Outdoors, and Angler Quest Boats. You heard Mr. Angler Quest on the previous hour. Brad's a great guy. He's one of the guys that I consider a blessing to get to know. And as you've heard me say so many times at this microphone, I've been doing this a long time. I've had a lot of cool experiences, and I remember those experiences. But the best part about what I've been able to do for so many years is the people that I've got to know along the way, the people that I've had experiences with along the way, the people that I've got to spend some time with. Some of them, just the average guy down the street. You wouldn't know him. You wouldn't know his name. Some of them, a little higher profile. Maybe like Ted Nugent. You can't get much higher profile than Uncle Ted, right? He's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Ted, welcome back. How have you been?
Mike, I feel welcome. It's great to be back with my fellow Michiganiac, Fred Bear, backstrap blood brother. God bless you, man. Happy springtime in the wilds of Michigan.
Oh, it absolutely is. We got turkey season going. We got bow fishing going. We got fishing going. All these things that you and I love so much.
Yep, and boy, the people have embraced it. I think more emotionally and more powerfully and passionately now than ever, Mike, because the world's pretty damn ugly out there. But when you're in the great outdoors and celebrating hands-on conservation with God's miraculous creation, there is no ugliness. So everybody get out there as often as possible. It will cleanse your soul.
That's a line I've heard before.
Well, how lucky, you talk about spending campfires. You got an electronic campfire. I have a podcast, Real America's Voice, I call the Spirit Campfire. On my new record, I have a song called The American Campfire. So we all know that time around a campfire with family and friends, it's what a great Michigan, what a great American tradition. It's really, really more important than ever. And I think that more and more people realize those Fred Bear inspirations, and those kind of people. You talk about your average everyday Joe. Well, that's all I am. I just happen to play a dangerous guitar. That's all. And Fred Bear, I think you will admit, Mike, that what the real human quality, the real impressive, inspiring quality of the great Fred Bear that we are so, my God, how lucky to spend time with that guy. He really was just your average Joe. He just happened to be at the forefront of a lifestyle, a sport, a recreation, a conservation lifestyle that is so important in our lives. So Fred Bear is a great bond that you and I have. And once again, how lucky are we?
Oh,
huh?
Wonderful. I mean, I didn't spend the amount of time you did with him, but I'm curious, how did you get to meet Fred and become friends with Fred Bear? Because from the outside, if you didn't know you two guys, you'd think, man, they're opposite. What was the bond?
Well, the bond was the spirit of America when I was born in 1948, when Fred Bear came to Michigan in the 1920s. That was a farming, ranching, outdoor conservation, self-sufficiency, rugged individual aura, a powerful driving force in America. And even though Fred and I are very different on many levels, in fact, I think originally, Mike, that my music scared him. I don't think
it scared me at first too.
Hell, it scared me when my guitar started feeding back in my face. But what I was, Mike, I've told this story so many times, and it's so emotional for me. All these years later, I'll be 76 this deer season. And I was about 5 or 6 years old, and the Nugent family would go north every year. My dad was already a bow hunter following Fred Bear when I was born in 48. So he had a long bow and Port Orford cedar arrows that George Nichols at Jackson Archery created for him, and we bought up at the Miller's Feed Store in Grand River. Boy, I remember all the details. And we'd stop at this little shack in Grayling that said Bear Archery, and I think Nels Grumley, his bowyer, had made that wood carving over the door. And I didn't know anything at the age of 5 and 6. I just knew I loved the bow and arrow. I would always spend time down at the Rouge River with my dad and brothers, just flinging arrows and discovering that projectile management that is so inherent in the human instinct. But by the time I was 7 or 8, I realized there's this guy that I'm meeting that had a lot of bows and arrows on the wall, and he wore a mask sometimes because he was experimenting with the laminating process of wood and glass and those beautiful artistic recurves he was creating. And I started to realize, my God, this is the Chuck Berry of bows and arrows. I mean, I was already a gung-ho guitar player, but Fred welcomed us every October, and we'd go to the Grayling restaurant on occasion and have cherry pie and chocolate milk. Both Fred and I had cherry pie and chocolate milk. Maybe that was the bond. Maybe that was. But I was so addicted to the bow and arrow and to wildlife along the Rouge River where we lived in Detroit. It was a wildlife paradise. My God, the pheasants and quail. Back in the 50s, it was unbelievable, the amount of wildlife. There was no deer back then, south of maybe Clare, the home of Jay's Sporting Goods. But Fred welcomed us, and I became infatuated with him because he was the bow and arrow czar. And every year we'd go up there and meet him as I grew up a little bit older, and I thoroughly grasped what a powerful leader and inspiration he was in the world of conservation. And that was the bond. It was the spirit of the wild, the mystical flight of the arrow, the calling that you promote so well on Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine, that conservation ethic that we are reasoning predators, and we have to manage that habitat. We have to manage those species. We get to eat the greatest diet in the world and have the greatest challenge getting close with the bow and arrow. My goodness, all those things that the bow hunting families of Michigan still celebrate are as pure now as they were for Ishii and Cochise and Fred Bear and Ted Nugent as a little boy.
And then you did the song, the tribute Fred Bear. First time I heard that, I got goosebumps. It was awesome. But I was blessed that I had this interview with Fred Bear, so I had video of it. So I got in touch with you. I said, hey, can we get together and do something? And I will say, and this might be braggadocious, but I think the version we did of Fred Bear, the video version, is the one that all others should be judged against, because there's not a video out there that has Ted Nugent and Fred Bear in the same video.
Well, Mike, again, you've been at this a long time. I'll be 76 this year. It's just hysterical because I shot my bow this morning, and I still get a kick out of all the great things that turned me on as a younger person. The bow and arrow, my dogs, my incredible wife, Shemaine, obviously, God, family, country, Constitution, all that radical stuff.
Yeah.
But what you captured was, I used the word pure, and people constantly in this wild internet Wi-Fi world, they're constantly sending me that wonderful tribute that you created after that song it exploded out of me after Fred died in April of '88 after our last hunt together in '87. And how about, I hope to promote with all my gusto, and I'm sure you do, that there is a Fred Bear Day every March 5th on Fred birthday in Grayling, Michigan. And this year I will be in Grayling on September 7th to unveil the Fred Bear statue. So that song has so bonded the people that love the outdoors, and it's not just about Fred. It's about moms and dads and uncles and brothers and sisters. It's about people that we love and lost. But that song was such a pure, unleashed emotional moment in my life that I played it just this last Friday. We do these Ted Nugent speakeasies all around Texas. And when I play the song Fred Bear, Mike, you know, Stranglehold is powerful.
Oh, I love Stranglehold.
Powerful songs. But my God, when I start to play Fred Bear, there is a fire and a passion in the air that people have really related to that song. It's out of body, Mike. It really is.
You mentioned Texas. We miss you here in Michigan, Ted.
Well, I'm always in Michigan too. Believe me, there's always good, bad, and ugly. And there's so much good, and it's epitomized by the outdoor lifestyle. And again, thank you, Mike, for promoting it and celebrating it like you do. But there's a real responsibility to maximize the good by fighting the bad and ugly. And I'm involved in all 50 states and across Canada. I work with people in France and in Africa where there's animal rights insanity that are making its way into policy. And I still fight in Michigan. Michigan still has the greatest people, the greatest energy and attitude and piss and vinegar. But boy, has the Michigan DNR and Natural Resource Commission, my goodness, have they let us down.
Can we talk more about that, Ted? I got to take a break. You know how this all works. I hate to interrupt Ted Nugent. That is probably one of the rudest things I've ever done is to interrupt Ted Nugent, but I have to because we got to take a break. You can learn more about Ted. Listen, TedNugent.com, right? He's all over the place. You know him. He's been around forever. Go to the website, TedNugent.com, and from there you can find all of the other online options. We'll take a break. More coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on WKNW 1400 AM. I'll be driving back through the Sioux here a little bit later this summer as I head up to Ontario for a bear hunt. Looking forward to that. You know I love bear hunting. Bear hunting, turkey hunting, walleye fishing. Those are my things. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class. He got me my charter captain's license, and he can help you as well. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com, for more info. John has classes across the state, and I'm sure you can find one that fits your schedule. It's pmtcaptains.com. Talking right now with the man who is so well known in the outdoor world and beyond, Uncle Ted, the Whackmaster, Ted Nugent. You can follow him on his website, tednugent.com, and all across social media. Ted, again, I appreciate your time. Before the break, you were talking about your disappointment with the way wildlife managers are handling things these days. What do you mean?
Well, my goodness, there's so many examples. I mean, let's stick with our beloved state of Michigan. You can't call the number one game bird in the world a songbird. I mean, it's just a lie. I mean, Michigan grows more of the number one game bird in the world, the mourning dove, than it does pheasants or quail or woodcock or grouse. I mean, literally, we grow more doves than all the legal game birds. And you can't hunt it, so it's not in the asset column. It's in the liability column. That's just rude. That's just so wrong. I mean, you can call a pheasant a songbird if you want, but it'll never be one. And the bear are underutilized. The wolves are mismanaged criminally. There are so many sandhill cranes in Michigan that there are more sandhill cranes in Michigan than there are in some states that have legal sandhill crane, ribeye in the sky, federal migratory sandhill crane seasons. But the law says you're forbidden to eat a ribeye in the sky, Mike. That's immoral. And the NRC and DNR people that left the room and agreed on that, those are immoral people. And the CWD scam, I mean, my God, I work with all these biologists and scientists and epidemiologists, and everybody knows that chronic wasting disease is a scam. It's never hurt a deer herd. You can't get it to human beings, and they ban bait as if the deer aren't already licking each other while you and I are talking right now. There's so many false premises that are right solid in the mismanagement column. And by the way, Mike, this is going on all across the country. I mean, you're not allowed to use hounds or bait for bear or cougar in Colorado, but the government uses hounds and bait to kill bear and cougar in Colorado. There's so many examples. That's why people think I'm a radical. Let's make it perfectly clear. When I started bow hunting in the 1950s, it was against the law for me to climb a tree. Mike, I would ask you and my fellow Michiganiacs, what man has authority over another man climbing a tree? I mean, that's bizarre. So, and there were 11 counties in Michigan that were against the law to hunt on Sunday. Well, what man could possibly think he can override God's natural harvest of season and control of free American, what he does in November on Sunday on his own farm. There are so many examples. So I just hope people are communicating with their elected employees, their DNR. I mean, Chad Stewart used to be a friend of the deer hunter, and now he's turned into a bureaucrat. And I would dare him to debate me on the Mike Avery Outdoor Magazine or anywhere else, because these people are living a lie, and it's hurting the hunting lifestyle of Michigan. The DNR of Michigan and the Natural Resource Commission are at the source of why we have half the deer hunters in Michigan as when I was growing up. There's a lot of other elements in play there, but I have the answers. I mean, I know I'm just a guitar player, but they want more deer killed. But if you kill one and you don't tag it immediately, you're a criminal. But they want more deer killed. It's DNR and NRC. My name is Ted Nugent. I beseech you, sit down with real sporting families in Michigan, and let's get these nonsense, non-science-based regulations off the books and welcome the families back into the greatest sport in the world.
When you were a kid growing up in Detroit, and I was a kid growing up on the west side of the state, obviously things were different in a lot of different ways. But, you know, I grew up as a farm kid. There was farms and fields and woods, and we hunted and we fished, and that's what we did. And that's part of our state's tradition, part of my family tradition, part of your family tradition. You know what bothers me these days, Ted, is I feel like for the first time in my life that I can see a scenario where if we let it happen, that these crazy antis and even infighting within the hunting community are going to threaten this way of life that we both love so much.
The threat is real, and the attrition is due to that threat. And again, if you don't want a supplemental feed deer, don't. But the vast majority of Michigan deer hunters like to encounter as many deer as possible. And the DNR, the insurance companies, the highway department, the grill, my grill wants more dead deer. Everybody wants more deer taken. Now, in those areas where other mitigating factors enter the equation, and maybe there's an excessive doe harvest. I don't know where that area is, but it can happen. Then you don't issue more doe tags. But down in the Wayne, Oakland, Macomb counties, I'm telling you, Mike, that season should start September 1 and stop March 1, and you should be able to shoot anything you want with a bow and arrow. Obviously, you can't use firearms in a lot of those areas because it's a lot of a dense habitation of humanity. But there's simple solutions, and boy, there are a lot of guys that would like to go into Wayne, Oakland, Macomb County and reduce the embarrassing slaughter on the highway. So, yeah, we fought hard with the great Kirk Gibson, and you were involved. All the sporting families were involved to pass Proposition G, where sound science must be the law guiding all regulations. And right now, doves, no sound science. Sandhill cranes, no sound science. Black bears, no sound science. Wolves, no sound science. A lot of the fishing regulations, no sound science. The deer feeding law, no sound science. It's just a shame people are becoming criminals for literally relocating apples. I mean, this is like a Saturday Night Live spoof on hunting, but it's actually policy, and there are people at the DNR that believe in it. Actually, I don't think they believe in it. I think they're scammers. I think the animal rights hippies have found their way into our game departments, and they're ruining it for real sportsmen out there.
Again, that's what scares me to death, is that the antis, the animal rights people, that I can't relate to them. I know you can't. I can't imagine the way they think. But here's the difference in my mind, Ted. We as hunters have what we believe in, but we're not telling the antis that they need to hunt. But the antis are telling us we can't hunt. So that's a basic difference in mindset right there.
Well, the anti-hunting scam, Fred Bear was the first guy to face it head on. That's one of the many reasons we admire the great man, because hunting, fishing, and trapping, somebody might want to write this down. I know I'm speaking to the choir on the great Mike Avery Outdoor Magazine. Hunting, fishing, and trapping based on sound science, sustained yield, habitat carrying capacity, population dynamics, hunting, fishing, and trapping is perfect environmentalism. It's essential environmentalism. The animal rights movement is 100% scam to get feeble, weak, gullible people to finance their exorbitant scam. Animals, we owe animal life reverence and respect, and that includes harvesting the surplus every year to make room for next year's cubs and fawns and poults. It's literally the perfect environmental lifestyle, balancing the herds and the flocks and the schools every year. And the animal rights people, it's all emotional, based on the dumbing down of America, because there's no conservation in any schools. There's no sound science about habitat carrying capacity in any schools. And if there is, only the guilty need to feel guilty, but I have never heard of it. And so the hunting lifestyle is under attack because it's about individualism. It's about independence. It's about taking care of yourself and doing the right thing. Anytime the animal rights people have succeeded in ruining sound science hunting policies, within a year they have to hire people to clean up the mess with increased trapping, increased harvest. They're still trying to immunocontraceptive scam in Long Island, trying to give deer, contraceptives. These people are out of their minds. They're scum. They're evil, and it's all a scam.
Ted, when I talk to you now, I feel like you've got the same passion that you did 30 years ago when we first talked.
Mike, I think more because I got a big mouth, which, by the way, Mike, yeah, you're damn right I have a big mouth. I, your humble guitar player from Detroit, am exactly what the Founding Fathers wanted all Americans to be: suspicious of authority and demanding constitutional accountability from my elected employees. So I am bombarded every day, nonstop, with genuine, passionate conservation families from across this nation because their son got arrested for not having his bow case zipped up. Swear to God. Or two young boys dove hunting. They had 30 doves, which is 2 15-bird limits, and they were still ticketed because all 30 of their birds were in the same cooler. I swear to God, some jack-booted thug just gave these young boys a hard time as they were doing the best thing young boys could possibly do, Mike. And I hear from these families, and their heart broke. So, yeah, I have passionate because I love it so much. Fred Bear said it will cleanse the soul. Well, my soul's been cleansed for 76 deer seasons, and I've been clean and sober for my entire life because I've struggled to get close to a deer with my bow. So I knew that if you were stoned or drunk, you were going to have to bite chicken. So, yeah, my passion is stronger than ever because I have grandkids now who can't wait to get in that deer blind with their grandpa. And they can't wait to shoot that bow and arrow or that 22 bolt action with CB caps at those paper cups downrange.
Ted,
And
listen,
so
you know how it works. I got to let you go. Let's not wait so long to talk again, all right?
I promise. Mike, God bless you, buddy.
All right, Ted Nugent, TedNugent.com, TedNugent.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, why you should never, ever, 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 ever pick up a fawn. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. You can hear us on those stations as well as about 30 more across the state. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination, and I would encourage you to check them out. Beautiful facilities, wonderful boat launch, great campground, very, very nice marina, great people, and a full marine shop, great ship store. What more do you want? Well, I can tell you what more you want. Good fishing. All you have to do is leave the channel at Linwood Beach, head straight east, and you'll be into the walleye. LinwoodBeachMarina.com is the website, LinwoodBeachMarina.com. Okay, so we're well into the month of May now. I was talking earlier about what that means as far as hunting and fishing and all such fun things. But you know what else it means? It means, if you haven't already, that you're very soon going to see a whitetail fawn. Aren't they just the most cute, beautiful, adorable little thing you've ever seen? Yeah, but don't pick them up. Anyway, that's just me saying that. I'm no expert. Chad Fedewa is an expert. He is a biologist with the Michigan DNR out of the Rose Lake Station, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Chad, welcome back. How have you been?
Good. How you been?
Good, real good. So let's talk about fawns a little bit right now. This fawning period starts, about mid-May-ish through June?
Yeah, that's a pretty good time frame, general time frame.
And where are we? Where would a doe drop these fawns? Do they have a particular habitat that they like more than others?
It's going to vary, obviously, across the state depending on where you are. But this time of year they're starting to break up out of their larger winter groups, and the does will kind of separate themselves and try to get by themselves. And in order to have those fawns, a lot of places they'll have them in some thick cover, some grassy areas, or some shrubby areas. And it's going to depend on the habitat available and the deer density in that area. So if you have high deer densities, you're more likely to see fawns born in probably areas that aren't real opportune for that particular deer. But based on space requirements, they may have those fawns in areas that aren't real opportune.
Ideally, or I guess ideally is not the right word, but in general, how big of an area does a fawn or a doe claim when she starts dropping those fawns?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. But yeah, depending on the area, some of those home ranges are certainly going to overlap with does in a particular area.
And kind of a matriarchal society, the old does get their choice, I would imagine, then the younger does are left with what's left?
Yeah, that's usually what we see. The older does, a little more experienced, they'll kind of claim their areas, and the younger, less experienced does might be the ones that are on the outside looking in as far as prime habitat for fawn survival.
How many fawns will a doe have?
That's going to vary depending on several factors, but on average, particularly in the lower peninsula, we're seeing probably an average of 1 to 2 fawns per doe. So it's not uncommon to have twins, even triplets.
Is it true that newborn fawns have no scent?
Yeah, so they don't typically have a scent, and it's kind of a predator survival mechanism. So the doe will leave that fawn alone, especially those first couple of weeks. Most of the days she'll come back and feed several times a day, but kind of leaves that her scent away from that fawn as it develops those first couple of weeks and gets big enough where it can start walking along with a doe and get big enough where if a predator were to kind of get along behind them, they can usually outrun them or survive after a few weeks. But those first couple of weeks are pretty critical.
So for now, this time of year, you're if you see a fawn, it's likely going to be by itself. But I think a lot of people think that fawn has been abandoned and they want to go pick it up and save it. But I don't know, Chad, I'm no biologist, but I think that's a mistake.
Correct. In most cases, that fawn is left alone on purpose, especially, like I said, those first few weeks of its life. And the doe is likely nearby. You may not see her, but she is probably nearby. So best chance for that fawn is to leave it be, snap a quick picture, and leave it be, walk away. And there are cases where fawns do get abandoned. The mother might die, get hit by a car or die from other causes. But in most cases, it's likely that fawn is probably got a doe nearby.
Well, and it's and beyond the morality, it's illegal to pick up a fawn, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, you cannot pick up a fawn out of the wild unless you are a licensed rehabilitator. We do have some licensed rehabilitators in the state, and you can find those facilities online. But even in the case of a fawn that's found, say next to a doe that may have been hit by a car, oftentimes the best chance for survival on that fawn is to leave it be. Even fawns that are rehabilitated, survival rates are actually relatively low once they're released from that.
All right, Chad, I appreciate that. I agree with you. Again, I'm no biologist, but I think that's the right thing to do. Just leave them alone. Chad Fedewa of the Michigan DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. Again, don't pick up a fawn, right? I know you think you're doing the right thing. You think you're saving that beautiful baby animal. You're not. And I'll talk more about this later in the show. I could talk for 20 minutes on this, but it's also illegal. And just leave them alone. This week's Ask Avery segment coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine.
myoutdoors.org.
You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Taos on WIOS. In fact, twice each weekend on WIOS. That's 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM, 580 AM. And you can hear us in Newberry. Yeah, we can go north of the bridge once again. Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the folks from Security Credit Union. By the way, Security Credit Union is one of the sponsors of our Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing, too, so thank you for that. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. You know this by now, but the way this segment works is if you have a question for me, send it to me, please. Email Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It can be a question directed to me, or it can be a question that you would like me to get the answer for, or to get the answer from somebody else. That's what James Riley did. James sent me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. He says, Mike, the DNR will let you keep a roadkill deer, but what if you hit a wolf, or a moose, or an elk, or a bear, or even a cougar? What happens then? Well, I kind of suspected I know the answer, but I don't want to put my foot in my mouth unnecessarily. So I reached out to the DNR, in particular, Sergeant Mark Papineau, who joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Sarge, welcome back. How are you?
Doing good. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing real good, Listen, I sent you that question ahead of time so you'd have a chance to look at it. What's the answer?
Yeah, so essentially, historically it used to be deer and bear could always be picked up from roadkill, and you needed a permit from local law enforcement or a CO. That really hasn't changed. The process really has changed. There's a list of animals that can be taken. Unfortunately, due to the special nature of cougars and elk and moose and wolf, those are excluded and not eligible for pickup, but definitely deer and bear. There's, a long list, basically beaver, coyote, fox, mink, muskrat, possum, raccoons, skunks, and small game. Those are free game as well. All you need is just to go to michigan.gov/wildlife permit, fill out a 3-page document. They'll email you a copy of the permit, and you're good to go.
You'd need a permit even for some small game critter?
Yeah, it's they track all that stuff per the Michigan legislature law that was passed back in 2017. They kind of made some adjustments to that. Not really necessarily a roadkill permit anymore. It's more of a salvage tag, and we just have to track those numbers per that legislative law that was passed.
And what's that website? Could you do this on the DNR app as well?
You can actually on the Hunt Fish app.
Yeah,
there should be for rules and regulations, I believe it is, and a tab there that you can click and fill that form out online.
Perfect. Mark, you said now historically, you have a little insight into the DNR's history because I think I read somewhere you're actually the department's official historian, aren't you?
Unofficially, more than likely.
Unofficial historian. I'll put it that way.
But I do a lot of the history stuff, specifically for Law Division. But yeah, there's this law goes back a long ways, or the kill tag permit, or not kill tag, sorry, the salvage permits, roadkill permits, probably came in around 1970s, 80s, maybe around that way, and they just modified it to make it a little simpler.
Gotcha. I was listening to a podcast, though, the other day that you were on, and it was a podcast from some guy who reaches into the different DNRs and wardens across the country, and I heard you on there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Wayne Saunders. He does a good job with the Warden's Watch podcast for sure.
What is the job of a conservation officer like? I mean, for a while you were filling in as a lieutenant. You're a sergeant now, so you've been around a while. You know the system. You know what the job is like. Is it something you would encourage a young person to get involved in?
For sure. It's a very rewarding job. Not only are we fully commissioned peace officers, the same as deputies, city cops, state police troopers, but we specialize in the outdoor recreation. So the vast majority of my day when I was in the field working was driving around checking hunters, fishermen, boaters, ORVs, people who are out having fun, recreating, and most of those contacts were really positive. I don't necessarily have with this job all the amount to go out and recreate as much as I would like, but at least I'm out enjoying it with people who are, and that's a huge benefit.
Sarge, I appreciate your time. You've helped me out on several different questions in the past, and I do appreciate it.
No, you're very welcome. Anytime, sir.
All right, Mark Papineau of the DNR, michigan.gov/DNR, michigan.gov/DNR. I just want to go back to the previous segment with Chad Fedewa talking about fawns. Again, don't pick up a fawn. Even, and he used the example, even if you see a doe that was hit in the road and there's a fawn laying next to her, a newborn fawn laying next to her, you think you're doing the right thing by picking it up, right? You can't rehabilitate that animal. You can't legally possess that animal. But what if you somehow get the fawn to a licensed rehabilitator? Well, then that fawn is being raised by a human. Is that what you want to do? Is that, in my opinion, a non-expert, a non-biologist, it's always better to let things run their course. Mother Nature. You might say, well, getting hit by a car is not part of Mother Nature, but it is in today's world. Leave it alone. You know, I grew up on a farm. We saw fawns a lot. We saw neighbors who would raise them, but it wasn't a good life for that animal. It's supposed to be a wild animal. Leave the fawns alone. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in our third hour, it's Lance Valentine of Teachin Fishin, Justin Tomei of MUCC, and Dixie Dave Miner.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to our number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan, and so glad to have you along with us. I love doing this show. I love to get a chance to promote the outdoors, promote this history and tradition of the outdoors, and to talk with interesting people and learn things. I'll tell you what, of the thousands of people I don't know if I like to use the term interview. To me, interview has a connotation. To me, it's a conversation. Of all the people that I've had the opportunity to have radio conversations with, including Ted Nugent here in the second hour, if you didn't hear that, check out the podcast. I look forward to my conversations with Lance Valentine as much as anybody. I call him Sir Lancelot. I don't know if he likes it, but I call him Sir Lancelot. This guy has more knowledge about fishing and more insight into fishing than almost anybody I know. But the thing that I really enjoy is he has the innate ability to share that information. He's an excellent teacher. He's an excellent fisherman, but he's an excellent teacher as well. And I always look forward to these conversations. And I managed to snag a little time with him here on this week's show, and he's on the Outdoor Magazine phone line right now. Lance, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thank you for that. That's a very, very kind introduction. I appreciate that.
Well, and it's true. And I love our talks because I learn every time we've talked, and I've talked to you a whole bunch of times. So where are you at right now? Are you done with the river heading north? Or are you still on the river?
So I'm still on the river. We're going to be here until the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. So we're kind of extended our season a little bit. The fishing has been good all the way through May every year. So we just kind of extend. But I think Memorial Day is kind of a very natural jumping off point of leaving the river, and then we'll start on Saginaw Bay June 1st. But as of right now, we're still on the river and got another week to go, and just taking advantage of some of this really nice late May weather and really good late May fishing on the Detroit River.
Is it getting to be a grind at this point on the river?
Well, I'm just gonna put it this way. I started on the river. I went down there May 29th. I started fishing, or March 29th. I started fishing May 30th, and I have done 2 charters a day every day for every day except 6. And out of those 6, I didn't do doubles. 4 of those I did singles. So, it's kind of hard to say something that you love to do and really enjoy doing, and enjoy the people you do it with is a grind. But yeah, it's like anything you do every day. It just, at some point you just go, okay, I just need a minute to regroup, but I can't imagine doing anything else. I can't imagine loving to do anything any more than I love doing this. I can't imagine too many better places to do it than here in Michigan in general, but on the Detroit River in specific. So yeah, I'm tired. My body is wearing out. I'm an old, closing on 60-year-old. I'm a close to 60-year-old fat guy, and standing up in that boat all day for 9-10 hours, rocking around in the waves, and the body's wearing out a little bit, and I'm not young anymore, and in that aspect, I'm getting tired. But every trip is a new trip, and every group is a new group, and Grandpa Valentine told me a couple things when I started doing this. He says you can only control your effort and your attitude, and he said every group deserves your best. So no matter how tired you are, no matter how long you've been doing it, no matter how frustrated you may have been from the previous trip, every group deserves your best. So you have to have the same energy your last trip that you had your first trip, because those people deserve your best. So I try to keep that in mind, and take a little nap between trips, and get regrouped and get re-energized, and meet every group with a smile and ready to go, and have a great 4 or 5 hours in the boat with people I just consider fishing friends, and we just go from there.
How was the fishing this spring, Lance?
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. I don't know that we've had in recent years an easier time of getting limits fairly quickly of good fish. We never really got any big fish this year. I think the biggest we've got in our boat was just under 29 inches. We never really saw any giants, and we talked to Travis Hartman a couple of weeks ago on one of our programs at Teachin Fishin. Travis runs the East or Western Basin perch and walleye program for the Ohio DNR. And we talked to him, and he goes, I would expect that you would be catching lots of 3, 4, 5 pounders, because that's kind of where the population is, and that's what it's been. We've had lots of live wells full of 2, 3, 4 pound fish. Most days, limits come fairly quick. I move around a lot. I'm not a stay in one spot and catch a bunch of fish real quick. I like to get in there and get some good fish, then move to another spot, move to another spot, move to another spot. I like to move around a lot. I like to enjoy the river and showing people, what the river has to offer in different spots to fish. But it's been a really, really good year. Consistent limits, consistent, good, solid 18 to 23 inch fish with a few 25, 26, 27 inches thrown in, but really, really a good year. I don't remember a year that it's been, I don't want to call it easy, because it's never easy. You got to figure it out every trip, but I can't remember a season that's been any easier to feel confident when you left the dock that you were going to get 25 to 30 fish, decent fish every time you went out.
That's interesting that you didn't see a lot of big fish, because the folks down on Erie, I feel like, were slamming the big hogs this spring.
Yeah, there's a big adjustment. Travis and I talk on a pretty regular basis just because I like to understand what is going on. And, as the winters get, I'm going to call them shorter, as they get softer, as they're not as intense, as we don't get as much snow and ice cover, Lake Erie doesn't get, I don't want to say it's cold, but it doesn't lose sunlight penetration over the winter like it used to. We don't have warm water rushing out of the Trenton Power Plant anymore into Lake Erie. So things have changed. Migration routes up into the river have changed. The amount of fish that come to the river have changed. The size of fish that come have changed. Where they come up the river and the timing of where they come up the river has changed. So it's a little bit, the river's a little bit different than it used to be. We know that those biggest females, that top of the top, they spawn real quick right after ice out. And in Lake Erie, they have a tendency to, if they do it in Lake Erie, they have a tendency to do that really quick, spend a day or two on the mud just west or just east of the reefs in Port Clinton, and then they bolt. They start to scoot east. A lot of those fish used to come up into the river when we had the power plant pumping in warm water, when we didn't have a lot of light penetration during the winter. There wasn't a lot of plankton. There wasn't a lot of food chain on the reefs, so the river was a much more fertile area. A lot of those bigger fish came to the river. Those fish aren't doing that anymore. So we're getting, the runs of those medium-sized 4, 5, 6 pound fish. And that is kind of the peak of the population right now in the Lake Erie system. So obviously we're going to get more of those. But, man, where can you go? Where else can you go in 5 hours, catch 30 walleyes that are 20 to 24 inches and be upset that it took you 5 hours to catch 30? I don't know too many places that you can go and do that. And that's, the Detroit River is still a world-class walleye fishery, if not one of the best in the world.
Well, I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, Craig Plowman, good friend of mine. He's also a big fan of yours. He follows you all the time. He said, hey, and he knows my thoughts on this. He said, hey, your buddy Lance was talking about fishing with crawlers the other day. And I said, say it ain't so. So I got to figure out, was Craig just pulling my leg, or did you do something on fishing crawlers?
No, it ain't so. At some point we will.
So Craig's a liar. So Craig's a big fat liar, is what you're telling me.
I don't know about that. At some point we will definitely do some video on it because it is a technique that you have to learn. The jig fishing was really tough. I'm talking to you, whatever today. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yep.
Today Wednesday? Yeah. So fishing was jig bite was really tough yesterday. The water got really, 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 really clear. The only place we had a really good jig bite and had some decent water was in a really, really snaggy area, and just couldn't get my guys dialed in. And, we went through 20 jigs in about an hour, and I'm like, okay, we got to get out of here. So we kind of scrambled to find the best that we could find. It would have been an option to pull night crawlers. My guys wanted to jig because they are trollers on Saginaw Bay all summer, so we kept jigging. But there are times when the crawler bite, as the water gets warmer and the water gets cleaner, the walleyes have a tendency to shift to they like horizontal presentations more than they like vertical. Now, if you can find dirty water, which we hope happens here pretty quick, if we can find some stained water, some dirty green water, those fish kind of come back and they react very positively to a vertical presentation. But as that water gets a little warmer, and especially as it gets clean, they have a tendency to prefer a horizontal presentation or a bait that's going, through the water horizontally then as opposed to vertical. And the jig bite doesn't stop. You can still catch a limit, jig fishing right now of good fish, but it does become a little bit tougher, and you have to kind of concentrate on boat control a lot more, and you got to concentrate on very specific spots with the right water. So trolling crawler harnesses is definitely an option. It's something I'm going to try to avoid because I am going to troll for the next 3 months up on Saginaw Bay, but it's definitely an option that an everyday angler, if they want to put fish in their boat really, really quick, it's definitely an option they need to concentrate on learning.
Well, when I pushed Craig on it, he said, well, maybe he was talking about tying your crawler harnesses. So listen, I got to take a break here, Lance. So hang tight. A lot of things I want to talk to you about, but the conversation when we come back will be on trolling big water for walleye because you're making that transition now, and I'm getting ready to head out there myself. Lance Valentine, teachinfishing.com, teachinfishing.com. The guy's been around the fishing world for a long time. When people ask me about, who do you recommend on Saginaw Bay to take a trip with? Now, there are several people I recommend, several friends of mine who I think are very, very good anglers, but Lance Valentine is always on that list. You can learn more on his website, teachinfishing.com. That's teachinfishing.com. By the way, my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to hear from you, unless your name is Craig Plowman, and you're busting my chops about this whole crawler thing, Craig. More after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us on the other side of the state. Report here on WPHM 1380 AM. Let's jump back across again to the west side, southwest side, St. Joe, WSJM 94.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and then snap on and zip on an outer shell with a different camo pattern in literally less than a minute? It makes all the sense in the world. Paul Perrone, company owner, came up with a great concept there. Check out the website, versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. If you need big sizes, 4, 5, 6X, VersaSkins can help you out there. Or if you are a saddle hunter, VersaSkins makes jackets specifically for saddle hunting. You can find it all at versaskins.com. You can find out a lot of great fishing information if you go to the website teachinfishing.com. That's teachinfishing.com. That is the website of Lance Valentine, who's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. All right, Lance, so maybe you were talking about tying crawler harnesses, but how long has it been since you've actually trolled a crawler harness on big water?
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to say a decade, if not a touch longer. I'm trying to think the last time I might have went with somebody in somebody else's boat and done it, and I don't have anything coming to mind. So I'm going to tell you probably close to 10 years. Not that they don't catch, right? This is a conversation we have all the time. Not that they don't catch fish. That's not what I'm saying. They're just very inefficient as a charter captain. Very inefficient with white bass and small perch and small walleye, and you're constantly reeling stuff in, and you're constantly got little fish flipping around inside your spread, and they're just very, very, very efficient. And I think you can plow through more fish faster, not fishing live bait. Not, again, please don't. I don't want to get in the situation I got into with round ball jigs. Please don't ever say that Lance says crawlers don't catch fish. That's not the case at all. It's just that, the way I fish and the way my life is right now, they're just not very efficient for what we do and how we fish.
I joke around with people, my buddies, all the time. I say, do not bring a crawler on my angler quest. I know they catch fish. I know they are extremely effective. They are extremely productive, and you can wash them off at the dock so they're not dirty. And I get accused of being an elitist. Oh, Avery, you don't want to use crawlers. No, that's I'll be happy to use crawlers in the right situation. I just don't want to use them for trolling walleye on Saginaw Bay because, I mean, they catch fish, but if you can catch fish without it, that's the way I go.
And here's what's funny. I got a good friend named John Bala. He's from Illinois, but he fished professional walleye trail forever, and he is a data collector on tournament fishing, from little local tournaments all the way to national tournaments. And he sent me something last year that we talked about a little bit on one of our little programs. Crankbaits, artificial lures. We're going to crankbaits, jigging spoons, those types of lures, and especially now the last couple of years, non-live bait has won 25 times more money than live bait has in the walleye fishing world. So everybody's idea is, well, crawlers catch bigger fish, and going to the bottom of the bottom monster catch bigger fish, and tournament fishing at the highest level has proved that 100% right. We just had a tournament on Lake Erie, the National Walleye Trail, the best walleye anglers in the tournament anglers in the country, on Lake Erie in early May, which you would think, hey, reef runners, bandits, let's just go trolling. It was one casting, I'm going to call it a jerk bait, basically. Guys finding fish, schools of fish, looking at individual fish with forward-facing sonar on structure, casting to them, watching them react, and catch them. I think out of the top 10 teams, I think 8 were not trolling. That's Lake Erie in May now. People aren't, you're not even cashing a good check by trolling now, let alone fishing worms. They're casting jigs and plastics. They're casting plastic jerk baits that get down to the fish and actually sink a little bit. This whole evolution of what we're doing walleye fishing has completely changed, and to be honest with you, live bait is really getting left behind more and more and more every year because it is very inefficient. It takes time. It takes extra money. It takes extra time in the morning to get it. It's hard to keep alive. we are seeing this whole revolution go even further into walleye guys who are always considered, you got to have live bait to walleye fish, not even thinking about stopping at the bait shop anymore. So we're having this big revolution again in getting away from live bait for walleye fishing.
What about the scented plastic baits? Does that solve some of the problems?
Yeah, scented plastics, plastics with, a shot of Procure on them, anything like that imitates. One of the problems with live bait is if you have live bait, that's what you're fishing, right? So if you're fishing an 8-inch night crawler, you're fishing an 8-inch night crawler. What if the fish are eating 4-inch night crawlers, or they're eating 4-inch pieces of bait or 5-inch pieces of bait? You get 3-inch emerald shiners on the Detroit River. Or what if the fish are eating gobies or eating log perch or eating shad? That live bait only imitates that. It only looks, tastes, smells, and feels to a fish like that. Well, if they're not eating that, they don't want that. Plastics allow us to imitate size, shape, action, color based on not only what the fish are feeding on, but what the fish should be able to see based on light conditions, water color, water clarity, all those things. So we have such a wide variety of ways to imitate what the fish are eating, and to sometimes imitate what they're eating to get them to eat, and sometimes to imitate something that they're not eating that's just outrageously and gaudy to get them to strike. We don't care why they get on our hook, just get on our hook, right? And when you're fishing live bait, that's all that you're fishing is that bait, the way it looks, the way it tastes, the way it smells, the way it swims. With plastics, we can do all kinds of different variations and really find out what the fish want very, very quickly, and then key in on those presentations that they want.
I want to go back to something I thought I heard you talk about a few minutes ago in the first segment, and that's going deep for big fish. Is that a thing? Do the big fish hang around bigger fish near the bottom?
I would say absolutely not. We talk a lot about Detroit River this time of year, and our big fish every year, even the years that we get a lot of 8, 9, 10, 11 pound fish, they're almost always shallower than 12 feet. Big fish don't live deep in the river. Now look, every once in a while you're going to catch one, but usually if a big fish is deep, listen to what I'm going to tell you. In our situation, Saginaw Bay, we're going to talk about Saginaw Bay, Detroit River right now. If a big inner bay, if a fish is deep, he's probably inactive. He's probably not actively, aggressively feeding. Because big fish that live where we fish, Saginaw Bay, Lake St. Clair River, Detroit River, western basin of Lake Erie, when those fish are active because of this type of bait we have and because of the efficiency of feeding in shallow water, the big fish that live on the bottom are almost always inactive. That's the deal. And it's a lot harder to trigger an inactive fish than it is to catch an active fish. So finding places and ideas and water conditions and weather conditions and locations that big walleyes take advantage of to feed efficiently in shallow water is the key to catching more big fish than just going to the bottom and dragging a bottom bouncer around because big fish are on the bottom. That's not the case in the areas that we fish. Now, some lakes it is. You get on some structure. Sometimes walleyes like deep structure. You go central basin of Lake Erie where fish are feeding on smelt. There's lots of big walleye, 30, 40, 50 feet down. Absolutely, because that's where their bait is. But where we fish, the kind of places that we talk about on your show, walleyes that are deep, walleyes that are really close to the bottom in the lakes, walleyes that are deep in the rivers are not active. They're not actively, aggressively feeding. They're a lot harder to catch.
Do you ever fish anything other than walleye?
I very rarely do. Occasionally, once in a while, we'll take a little bass fishing trip. I like to catch largemouth on spinnerbaits. I like to catch largemouth on topwater. Every once in a while, I got a buddy who comes into town and he loves to crappie fish, and we'll go to a local lake here, one of our favorites, and we'll catch some crappies on jigs. But no, if I'm fishing, it's almost, I hate to say this, but it's almost always walleye, and it's almost always because I'm getting paid to go. I don't do a lot of just fun fishing, and that kind of makes me sad. But running Teachin Fishin and all the content we create and all the things that you know what goes on with running a fishing business or outdoor business, all of that stuff, when I have a day off, there's other things to do that need my attention, need to be taken care of, so I really don't get a day just hop in the boat and just go fun fishing, although I wish I did.
No desire to go west after kings, after silverfish?
Yeah, we go over every year and fish one afternoon and one morning with my good buddy Lance Keene on steelhead hunting. I take a couple of guys that help me with Teachin Fishin. We take 3 or 4 guys over every year. It's kind of a thank you for helping with show season and some other things we do. When I go fishing other than walleye fishing, I let somebody else take me. I don't have to worry about being in the right spot. I don't have to worry about having the right gear. I don't have to worry about knowing where the fish are. I don't have to worry about anything. I just get on the boat, And I go, okay, you should know. Take me to where we got to go. So when I go fun fishing or get a couple days to go, I hire a guide. I don't have time to mess around with, they're on purple hoochies, and I don't have any. I got to find I don't have time for that. I want to go fishing. I want to catch fish. So, Lance Keene does my salmon fishing. We do one trip a year on the jet sled on the Manistee River. I go down and see Lance and Isle Morado. If I want to go bass fishing on Lake St. Clair for smallmouth, I'll call 2 or 3 of my friends that guide. I don't have the time to learn all of that stuff and have the right stuff and switch my boat over. So when I go fishing and just want to go do something different, I call up a friend, I hire a guide, and I pay them to take me because they should know and they should have the right stuff. So if I want to have a good time fishing, that's what I do.
Well, and that's an interesting concept because as much as I would love to see everybody go out and buy an Angler Quest, especially the new Angler Quest when Brad gets them up and running, for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense. For most people, it makes far more sense to book a charter, even if you do it several times in the summer.
Yep.
In the long run, it's going to be cheaper, and you're probably going to catch more fish.
I talked to a guy the other day on one of my charters, and he was getting ready to buy a big boat, 21-foot boat with a 300 horsepower. And I says, "Whoa, stop! What's that going to cost you?" And he said, X amount of dollars a month. And he said, "My buddy's going to buy one." I go, "Okay, stop. Why don't you just buy a 16, 17-foot boat with a 50 horsepower motor? Now you can take your kid to the lake, you can catch some bluegills, catch some bass. There's some good inland lake walleye fishing. With the money you're going to spend, the 2 of you buying a new boat, you guys could charter 3 to 4 times a month, every month from April through October. Be on the fish, be with a guy who knows what's going on, not have to worry about cleaning fish, not have to worry about putting the boat away, not have to worry about having a bunch of equipment. You can go fishing for fun when you want to in your little boat. Let somebody else take care of all the problems of having a big boat." And he texted me the other day. He goes, "I just settled on a 17-foot with a 16 horsepower." He goes, he put 2 charters with me on Detroit River next year. He put 2 charters on the Bay this summer. He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "When you look at the math, by the time you figure insurance and what it costs, it's much more effective unless you're going to fish a lot, right?" And look at. You've been around this state as long as a lot longer than I have, right? Not a lot longer.
No, let's not get carried away.
I apologize. I mean, you've been involved in the fishing world a little bit longer than I have. Find me 100 guys that you know that fish more than 10 or 11 days a year.
There you go. Hey, Lance, listen, I got to let you go. Always a pleasure, buddy. I'll see you up on the bay, the website, teachinfishing.com, teachinfishing.com. We do have to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk with Justin Tomei of MUCC, then Dixie Dave Miner. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan, including WKBZ in Muskegon, that's 1090 AM, WMIC in Sandusky, that's 660 AM, 95.3 FM, and WSGW, AM and FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. Here with Charlie Root. All I have to say is Charlie, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, I'm sorry. You missed out on the whole spiel here. Just know that he is adored by many. And you do a great job, Charlie, and I do appreciate it so very much. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Reader Landscaping. I had the Reader crews over this week. What were they doing? They were doing power thatching, what do they call it? Power raking, working on the sprinkler system. I mean, they've got all service, right? Maintenance, mowing, cleanup, lawn care, sprinklers, pruning, full service. One company does it all. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. Good people, hard-working crews. Really like working with Reader Landscaping. I also like working with the folks at MUCC. I think in today's world, we need a group like MUCC that, in my opinion, has our back, but also has the resources to get into all these different things that are going on, to keep track of them all. You and I, as outdoor enthusiasts, we have an interest in it, but how can we really know what's going on in Lansing or beyond? I routinely go to MUCC and say, hey, what's going on? What is your take on this? Justin Tomei is the policy director for MUCC. He's basically a lobbyist, so he is involved in this stuff up to his neck. And Justin, I got to believe, sometimes you feel like you're involved over your head even.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So what's going on now in Lansing?
Well, right now it is budget season, and that is the legislature's almost singular focus. They're not doing much policy stuff in terms of, laws, regulations, things like that, and it's just focused on those departmental budgets. It's a really weird year for it, too, but looks like we're in line for hopefully some big wins for conservation this year.
Well, budgeting isn't sexy. It doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's a critical part of everything. What do you see right now that looks positive for you, that's got you encouraged at least?
Budgeting is certainly not sexy, but the positive thing that I see right now is in a pretty tight budget year, the Michigan Senate passed a DNR budget that has a significant investment in Sportsmen Against Hunger, which in turn would benefit the 501c3 Michigan Sportsmen Against Hunger to the tune of like $1.3-ish million to buy refrigerated trailers, so that farmers doing calls or at hot points or in hot times of the year, they're able to handle the large quantities of deer that are donated, to include some CWD, TB, lead testing, and even just a general fund match for the donations that the program has relied on from hunters and anglers over the past 20 years.
Well, and what a great program it is, but I know that there have been some problems based on lack of funding. So hopefully this is going to be a good step in the right direction.
That's what we're hoping. We're hoping that this will allow the program to pay processors what they need for it to be beneficial for processors. We're hoping that this allows it allows it to be a useful management tool for deer beyond just the humanitarian value, in the sense that these, people will be able to harvest deer and have somewhere useful and helpful and good to go with them. So this really is a double-sided sword here with management tool and humanitarian value.
Yeah, when that program works well, there's no downside to it. It's a win-win all the way around.
100%. So
what else, Justin? I mean, anything fun? Hey, did you put in for your bear or elk tag?
I haven't put in yet. I'm going to. I put in for me, my wife, and my daughter every year. So we will definitely, the Tomei family will be putting in for their points this year. I drew my bear tag last year, though, so I'm probably taking this season off from bear. I still hope that the director calls me one day when he gets the list ahead of the publication. It's like, hey, Justin, you got bear or elk tag. So
wouldn't that be nice? I keep trying to put pressure on the department. Just talking about how hard it is to get an elk tag. I just trying to use a little public spotlight to increase my odds. But so far it hasn't worked, and I don't think it's going to work with you either, buddy.
No, I know. I try and I'll get you. Try and get you a little more money, but no, hasn't worked for me either.
Hey, does your summer include a golf outing Monday, July 29th at the West Branch Country Club? Will you be there?
I think it does, and I am planning on attending. So I have a couple special guests I think that I'm going to be able to bring with me too, in the form of some regional legislators. Sound like that they're interested in showing up as well.
Excellent.
So,
just a reminder.
Be a fun day.
Oh, it's going to be fun, and we're doing this to raise money for MUCC's youth camp. I can't think of a better cause. I mean, we get together, play golf, smoke cigars, maybe have a beer or two, and raise money for kids in the outdoors. It doesn't get any better.
No, it doesn't. And it's funny. We find a camp alumni everywhere. I went to the eye doctor wearing my MUCC hat one day, and she asked me how I knew MUCC because she went to our youth camp in the early 90s. So they're everywhere, and it's a great cause. And my favorite story is the kids that go there having never seen a star before.
Oh, isn't that crazy? And folks can sign up to play and or help sponsor the event. Go to mucc.org/golf. mucc.org/golf. We welcome any and all participation. Looking forward to it. Justin, I look forward to seeing you again. I'll let you go.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good one.
You as well. Justin Tomei of MUCC, mucc.org. If you want to get involved in the golf outing, mucc.org/golf. West Branch Country Club, Monday, July 29th. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. So glad to have you along with us. My name is Mike Avery. It is my pleasure, honor, and blessing to do this show. I do appreciate your time. I consider your time to be very valuable. And so the fact that you're sharing it with me right now means a lot. I also appreciate the fact that Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner is willing to take time out of his life to talk with me on the show here every week, and he's back once again. David, welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
I'm very good, Michael, and yourself?
I'm doing good. I couldn't be better. Absolutely great. What do you have for us this week?
Wow, it's a beautiful day out here today, that's for sure.
It is a beautiful day, but hopefully when people are listening to this on the weekend, it's a beautiful day again there as well.
That's good, good. Hopefully we can pray for that. Anyways, it's on page 19, and it says I made this recipe for snapper, but we used walleye. It's a nutty walleye with bananas, and it's a great dish. We sell it. We sold a lot of these at the restaurant.
Excellent, excellent.
We need about eight ounces of boneless, skinless walleye per person, a couple of beaten up eggs, 2 ounces of Frangelico liquor, 1 to 2 ounces of banana liquor. You could use either one or in conjunction, but Frangelico has a little more flavor. You can buy that in airline bottles. 4 riper bananas, a jar of chicken gravy, a 2-ounce package of sliced blanch almonds, and you want to toast them. Put them in the oven or in a frying pan with a teeny bit of oil, and you can brown them up real nicely. 1 to 2 ounces of heavy cream, a little bit of chopped parsley, the juice of 1 lime or lemon, you can use either, and the splash of vanilla extract is an option. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. If you have some, cut back a little bit on the banana liquor or the Frangelico if you're going to use vanilla extract. White pepper, flour, and olive oil to dredge it in, and fry it to saute. In a pan large enough to hold these fillets, you want to brown them on both sides after dipping it in the flour, then in the beaten up eggs. And you want to start it with the rib side down, so when you turn it, the rib side will be up facing the diner. It's a little more eye appeal. So when you get them nicely browned up, put them in a casserole, and you can add the chicken gravy and then put the Frangelico and banana liquor away from the stove just in case it might catch on fire. But it's pretty low in alcohol. So, and then you want to slice the bananas the long way, so you got 2 nice slices. Place the bananas next to the walleye fillets in the casserole, and then spoon the chicken gravy and the lime and the lime juice and the white pepper and almonds and heavy cream. You want to put the almonds on top, bananas along the side. Simmer this for a couple minutes and then spoon it over the top of the fillets, and you're going to bake this 8 to 10 minutes because you're going to have it pretty well done by sauteing it up, 350-degree oven, and then you can take a big spatula and put them on the plates and sprinkle a little bit of parsley around. We sold so many of these at the restaurant when we were open. People just loved it. And I'm sure you will too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned white pepper. What is white pepper, and why would I use that instead of the black pepper?
Well, it looks a little more eye appeal when you have a creamy-looking dish. Plus, white pepper is a little hotter, and you want to use that very sparingly than regular black pepper. I don't know why it is. I'd have to read up on that to figure it out. But white pepper is hotter, spicy-wise.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
David, can we talk about cooking wild game in general for just a minute here? I mean, wild game.
Sure.
If you can't, well, I'll rephrase. Should you approach it, say you're grilling this summer, should you approach wild game or fish like something you get from the supermarket?
No, because the supermarket, either pork or beef or chicken, is going to have fat in it because it's raised that way. But the wild game, say venison, elk, buffalo, like that, is going to be a little drier. And you want to, say if you were going to char grill a venison steak, I would marinate it overnight and even something as simple as Italian dressing. And that's going to give it a little more juice. Plus, it's going to give it some added flavor because there's very little saturated fat in these meats that we're talking about. and so you have to compensate for it.
Can we do a recipe for the grill next week since it's Memorial Weekend?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
What do you want to do, walleye or fish?
Listen, let's leave it up to you, and why don't you surprise me?
Okay, all righty, because we have some great salmon recipes, and we have walleye recipes on the grill, and we also have a lot of venison recipes we could do.
All right, I'm gonna switch gears. Let's do grilled salmon, because salmon on the west side right now, they're getting a real good early season or an early bite on the king salmon.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's do a grilled salmon for next week.
Okay, I don't have that great big barbecue anymore. It sounds like a jet plane, but I donated that to a church when we sold out.
Excellent. All right, David, I'll look forward to talking to you next week. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you then, my friend.
You too. Everybody have a wonderful holiday.
Wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. So glad to have him along, but so glad to have you along as well. My name is Mike Avery. The show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Do not forget about the first annual Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing to benefit MUCC's youth camp. That is Monday, July 29th at the West Branch Country Club. To get involved, go to the website mucc.org/golf. Have a great week, my friends. I'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.